everyone. Welcome to another episode of Nerd Variety Podcast.
Ba, 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 ba.
Yay!
Sorry, I just had to finish that little.
No, that would have worked. I'm Josh. I'm joined by, excuse me, Sideways Hat Hunter.
I don't wear hats.
Well, not today, but
I don't wear hats.
when he wears a hat, it's always on the side. You know.
I have a hat over here, but I don't wear it.
Is it beside you?
A ways, but it's technically to my side.
Close enough.
Anyways. And
yeah. And then we have hula hooping Hannah over here on the far
honestly
right.
Terrible at hula hooping. Your nicknames are lacking today, dude.
Yeah,
she's flipping.
There. Yeah. And this is Jewish Josh.
No.
I
mean, it's about as fitting as the other.
None of these things are accurate.
That's why I gave it to him.
Well, they don't know that.
Eh.
Let's keep the imagination going.
Never.
Anyway, today we are talking about board games. Do you guys like board games? I like board games.
I get bored with them sometimes.
You get bored with board games?
Yeah.
I love board games. And unfortunately, my husband also gets bored with board games, and so I don't have anyone to play with.
I actually love board games,
sorry.
but I don't live around anybody because you guys are so far away, so I don't have anybody to play board games with.
I can't hear you from up there. So yeah, we discuss a lot about electronic media and entertainment on this podcast.
We do.
But you can't have nerd variety without talking about board games and just, the simple fun of just sitting down with family and friends and just hanging out and playing a nice game together. And
to clarify, we're not talking about role-playing games. We're not talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Or we're not talking about card games. We're talking specifically games that have a board.
But what about deck building games?
Require a board.
No.
Does it need a board?
What if it has a virtual board in a computer?
We'll talk, but those are future episodes, possibly.
There you go, Hannah. Ideas.
Yeah. But yes, there are so many out there, and they've been around for forever.
Don't know about
that. Well, think about they kind of harken back to the days of people playing, I guess, soldier games. They would say, "Oh, my army could beat your army," and they would literally set up their pieces on the board, and they would be like, "Okay, I'm sending my people over to you," and you said, I think chess is what it ended up being. But
I'm pretty sure there were board games back in like ancient Egypt.
Yeah. And they all usually revolve around, okay, my pebbles are coming after your pebbles, and we're going to win.
Battle of the pebbles.
Okay.
Yeah, your dirty blue pebbles are going to lose to my mighty red ones.
Oh goodness!
It's red versus blue. That's
always.
That was the start of red versus blue. Always
and forever, red versus blue. And I'm sure everyone listening has played a board game. I remember growing up playing. What did I play growing up? Checkers. That was my earliest memory.
I remember
Chinese
chess more.
Okay.
I did more chess than checkers.
Yeah. I got to play Chinese checkers with my grandpa. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then after he left and wasn't around to show me, I was like, oh, this is complicated.
Yeah.
And then Snakes and Ladders. That's an old favorite.
Yeah.
Snakes and Ladders? Anybody?
Shoots and Ladders?
Snakes and Ladders, Shoots and Ladders. They're basically the same thing, aren't they?
Is it? Snakes and Ladders.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Okay. We've apparently struck a nerve.
I think that's familiar. I don't remember.
I was definitely a chess person. Played chess all the time with my dad. And also a big fan of backgammon.
Yeah, I didn't play that until just a few years ago, I think. And interesting.
I don't know if I'm just crazy good at it or something, but none of my siblings ever wanted to play with me. So I
that could be a
I don't know
conflict of interest for them.
Yeah.
See, I remember growing up with and thinking back on it, I don't know how often I really played these, but I remember Risk and Life, Monopoly. What was the other one? Stratego.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a lot of those kinds of games.
How about Sorry?
I don't think I really played Sorry.
What about Parcheesi?
Definitely did not play Parcheesi.
That's basically
Parcheesi
Sorry.
either.
Yeah. And then, well,
I just like the name.
God, there was one that I was just thinking of, but I can't remember.
Parcheesi.
Okay, so you don't technically use a board, but what would you consider like what's the you drop the things? It's like tic-tac-toe, but it's bigger.
Connect 4?
Connect 4. Yeah.
Oh, that's not a board game. It's a
I mean, that is kind of like in a weird category of games that I don't really feel like has a name. Stuff like and I feel like they're all more geared towards kids. Stuff like Hungry Hungry Hippos or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where like it doesn't really have a board, but
Oh, I also definitely
mostly
played.
made of plastic.
I definitely remember playing Clue, and I liked Clue.
Yeah,
I thought it was fun. There was also I don't know.
I feel like whenever I played Clue with my siblings, I don't feel like we ever played it properly.
I think there are a lot of games that you end up like, and especially with checkers. Oh Lord, checkers. And I think sometimes playing Scrabble, people would bend the rules a little bit, and they would just make up their own rules to say, let's play it like where we can do this, where we can jump over each other 4 times, where the queen and king can do this, and you can do this with your pieces.
Speaking of that stuff, and then you mentioned Scrabble, like for a second, I'm like, yeah, that's one where you really have to make your own rules about what's a word, what's not a word. Me and my mom have started playing again every once in a while, and we'll be like, we found like a little website that we can check on our phones, and it's like, well, this says it's an acceptable word, but you go to look for like a definition or something, and it's like, there's no definition found. It's like,
it's especially interesting with how much new slang is added to our vocabulary every year these days.
Yeah, and that slang becomes English or has dictionary entries now.
You're like, I don't know if you can play yeet. I'm like,
sure you can. Give it a year or two. You can for sure.
It's gonna
get rid of some of those E's. There's too many of them.
It's gonna happen, Hannah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's also just thinking of some of those ones that we were talking about that are in maybe that weird space or unclear space, like Battleship.
Oh yeah.
Or
I love Battleship.
What is it? Guess Who?
Yeah.
Guess Who? Since that kind of has like a board, both of those like have a board kind of.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a flat board on the ground that you play on the ground.
So Hungry Hungry Hippos. There you go.
Not with a large moving part such as that.
I was gonna say, did you guys? What was it? Was it called Mousetrap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I played it much.
Again, I don't feel like we played it correctly.
Yeah.
We're like, look at all the pieces. I don't know what they're for.
Yeah.
It's a game. Have fun.
When you're infants, you're supposed to just eat all the pieces.
Yes. Yeah. Do you guys find it? I find it kind of sad that I'm looking at like younger relatives and I see them picking up. They're more likely to pick up a phone or a video game and play that before they actually get a chance to play a board game.
I mean, you say younger generations or younger folks, like we're not all guilty of that from time to time.
Well, that's something that I think we didn't have.
We at least grew up with board games.
But nowadays.
Yeah, whatever.
Nowadays we're adults, so we get away with being on our phones all the time.
Yes, because we went through the trials. Of board games.
We didn't have them to.
We were the ones who grew up with fist fights because of Monopoly.
Yes. Yeah. Probably.
I don't think we.
You go to jail.
In a fight.
No, give me a railroad. Or
being someone who I have 3 siblings and I was homeschooled like all the way through high school. Like we have a ton of games with like a ton of house rules, and we actually made our own game one time. Like I don't think we ever really got mad at each other with Monopoly because like after you played a couple times, we all sort of agreed on what the rules were. So I The only person we could ever play with was my dad because he just took it too seriously. He's like, "Go, it's your turn."
Yeah,
like
Monopoly is a game you have to set aside like 2 days for.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much.
And
And he's like, "I
especially-
want to be done in 3 hours," and we're like,
and
"Dad,
if
no."
Josh is playing the
Yes.
game, then you have to set aside like a week or 2.
Hey, that was a different scenario.
Oh,
than-
you're right. That was a card game.
That was a card game, which we'll talk about in another episode.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Put
talk
it down
about
on the list.
Put it on the list. Yeah. Yeah, I those are, and they're really fun. I think it's good to be able to sit down and play something like that to get everybody together, get everybody at the table, because you kind of lose that some, I guess, back and forth when you're playing like a video game.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I think, but the board games are on the rise. There's been a big like upshoot in the last 10 years. I think 10 years for board games and people that and people buying more of them. Especially,
I definitely have been noticing that even more lately. Like there's YouTube channels. It feels like there's a lot of that kind of stuff dedicated to board games.
I can think of at least 4 different board gaming channels that I have come across and enjoyed in the last like 5 years.
Yeah. With a, I guess, could you was this be something you would put on Twitch?
I mean, there
know.
probably are people that do it on Twitch.
Yeah, I mean, if
I wouldn't, because none of my friends are around me.
Yeah, I feel like, Critical Role does a pretty good job doing D&D, and that's obviously a different sort of setup.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest issue with trying to do a board game on a live stream is wanting like an angle where you can see everybody and then also an angle where you can see the board, and that's much easier to deal with in editing.
Yeah.
But, I think with people doing things like Harmontown or Critical Role, you can have microphones and camera set up in different places, switch perspectives, and just get a cut video of are you playing. I guess it worked better as a recorded video instead of, or I guess if you want to watch a 2 hour a family play 2 hours of Monopoly and see all the
drama.
drama that unfolds. Yeah.
I have watched what might be an embarrassing amount of board gaming on YouTube.
Any amount is embarrassing.
I've watched a lot. Well, and I think partially it's because I really love board games. My husband's not really into them. I don't have all 3 of my siblings living with me anymore, and even if we did, we're all freaking busy. And never free at the same times. So I really enjoyed actually watching board games on YouTube because I've found a lot of games that I didn't know existed and seem really, really cool and are kind of things that I want to add to my collection to play with my friends.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really cool way of learning what's out there.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Especially for games, I feel like a lot of the newer games that are coming out are more complex and almost more role play like, but definitely have sort of like this randomized element to them. So even if you watch someone play them, your gameplay is not going to be remotely similar, maybe.
Yeah, and that goes into how the games are evolving. Like I think starting from maybe like borrowing from Dungeons and Dragons to other strategy games, and even from video games, that board games have gotten like you can play a game that's like a video game, like and people play those a lot more often now.
And like there are even video games that have been adapted to board games.
That's right.
Like one that I've personally been really interested in. I haven't bought because none of you guys live close to me, and
but we're starting at monthly game nights.
Well, I've been interested in Bloodborne, the board game, and it looks complicated. It looks interesting. I think it would be fun, but I don't know about anyone else.
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm always down to play a new one. It may take some, getting used to, figuring out all the pieces. And these games are really fun, though. They are sometimes it's kind of a matter of strategy. If you're either playing against the game or you're playing against other people, and
or
there's
both.
also some or both. There's some luck involved because sometimes you're rolling a die, or you just hoping hoping the other person that you're playing against doesn't know what you're planning to do. And I think after leaving college, I think I started playing more of these games. I remember my roommate brought the Game of Thrones game to the house, to the apartment, and we played that. And
was that Taylor's? I was thinking that was
right.
I was thinking that was Josh's.
No, that was Taylor's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember Josh and Laura coming over to play that. Then that must be one.
Yeah, it was really fun. Each player got to take control of a house, and the goal was to conquer Westeros. And
I feel like that wasn't a fun game because I lost.
It was hard.
So you're one of those people, huh, Hunter?
Yes. It's not fun unless I win.
It wasn't fun because I would always lose too. And I think we ended up we stopped playing because
I may have won once because I was good. Never mind.
We stopped playing because I think some people took it a little too personal because I kind of like the real Game of Thrones. You ended up becoming
you'd kill people to win.
Yeah. Sorry, I took your land and your castle and destroyed everything you had, and even though we had an alliance, but I stabbed you in the back.
See, I feel like I'm the only person here who truly appreciates board games because I like them even when I lose.
I do too. I was just kidding, Hannah.
Yeah. But that one was my first. I think my first venture into the complicated board games that we're talking about now. Then we played. You remember Dark Moon, Hunter?
I do.
Yeah.
That was the one where you're like on a spaceship, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. We played that before the Game of Thrones one.
I think it was around the same time because I remember playing Game of Thrones first, and then
maybe I don't know if maybe you'd played the Game of Thrones one before you played it with us. Before I played it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You might have played Dark Moon and then played Game of Thrones with us. But Dark Moon was really fun, especially with the surprise of someone being infected and
spoilers.
Yeah. Yep, someone's infected and they're sabotaging the ship. And while you're trying to repair everything, but it was a lot of like, who's infected, you don't know. You're just trying to play the game, and you have to kind of deduce who's your friend and who's trying to kill you all.
Yeah, and that's like that was the game I was trying to reference to you last year when me and Hannah were playing Deceit on Steam. It's a lot like that. If anybody listening is familiar with that game, or I think it's also like, I've heard it, so I don't know how I've heard of it, not played it, so I don't know how accurate this is. But it's also GTFO. That looks similar to that, but I'm not entirely sure.
No,
I just
Nope.
It's not at all. Okay.
Not the same thing.
9.
Okay.
Nope.
Wrong. Get out.
I think what I'm most interested in, and unfortunately have not had the chance to really
He actually left.
That's okay. The thing that I'm really interested in and haven't really had a chance to explore yet is those games where you're like, it's a cooperative game against the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
those seem really fascinating to me, and definitely something that I feel like is new.
Yeah.
In terms of like a board game trend, if you will, because I definitely don't remember anything like that when I was a kid.
Yeah. It probably comes from that video game element of, hey, let's let all the players work together to win the game, or win this scenario of a game that's probably going to take them 4 years to actually beat all the way. Just like some other role playing, like some. I think they kind of take on some role playing game elements, but they're still a board game.
Yeah. The only one I've played a good bit is Pandemic, where you're trying to cure some diseases.
Yeah, we played that together.
It's similar to. Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. I was after that. Yeah.
What?
Was I part of that?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah, no.
It sounds familiar, so maybe you guys were just talking about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was there.
What's the video game that's like the opposite?
What?
What's it called? I can't remember.
What is the purpose of this video game?
So the board game is there's a disease and you're trying to cure the disease, and the video game is you're trying to infect everything.
Plague Inc.
Yeah, Plague Inc.
I assume you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like that, but exactly the opposite, and a board game.
Yeah. Yeah, we played that last summer sometime. It was between June and August when I. Yeah, that was fun.
All the things without me.
But I think it's interesting because like you can frequently like really up the difficulty,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're all kind of working together.
Right.
And that's actually something you can control rather than having like only the human element of games. And I feel like it's could be good for those of us who get very competitive and want to
I don't get competitive.
destroy their friends.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I am the
sure,
least
sure.
competitive of all of us.
Sure. Whatever you say, man.
Hey,
I don't believe that.
Don't give me that.
I've played Destiny 2 with you.
Yes, and it's a fun way to get to know someone you don't normally spend any time with, and you can really bond with them after that. Other ones, a big one that I was referring to earlier was Gloomhaven. That friends and I started playing.
That.
Yes, you need to play it.
We need to play more games together.
I am starting a monthly game night at my house.
Okay, can you do it at my house though? Because I don't want to drive 40 minutes every time I want to play a board game.
Well.
Oh yeah. I would drive 2 hours to play a board game with everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it. Are you coming on Saturday?
No, he's not invited on Saturday.
Oh, just because we already started it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We have a campaign of kids on bikes going, so I only invited whoever is involved with that.
That doesn't count anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't
count as a board game.
Doesn't count.
But soon, Josh, you'll be.
We'll work something out for my next visit.
Yeah. Although this episode is not us discussing our own plans.
Yes.
Apparently it is.
Apparently.
Yeah. But yes, it was a really fun campaign. Gloomhaven. We each take on a character in the game. We give them a name. They have their own quest, their own side quest, and you have to complete missions to be able to go further into your quest. But you're basically clearing out dungeons and working to go to the beat bosses. And it's really fun. About as close to D&D as
I was going to say. It sounds like it's closer to D&D. And does it take more than one session to finish a game?
No. Well, it's more of a scenario that you're playing, and
Gotcha.
most times we only have time for one scenario. Sometimes every Blue Moon will have time for two.
Gotcha.
Depending on how long or short they are. So it'll be like, hey, we need a short scenario tonight. I was like, all right, let's get a short scenario to get on the board. And this one's pretty cool because you have, I think a lot more games are coming out with apps, the companion apps that you can play on your phone. So instead of actually rolling the die, I think the app can roll the die for you to figure out if you succeeded in what you're trying to do.
Well, that whole scenario system is something I'm noticing in a lot of board games lately that I've been playing.
What do you mean scenario?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I was hearing that different than what Josh was explained, but like you kind of choose different objectives or something, different difficulties basically. So you're trying to do different things, and once you like you gain points a certain way or you count points a certain way, and then there's just different rules of play.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, because the thing that immediately comes to my mind is probably my favorite game of all time, which is Betrayal at House on the Hill. Have I had either of you guys play that with me?
Not with you. I think we just started playing that ourselves.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite board game of all time. It's so fun. And part of what's interesting about it, because if you're talking about like that scenario aspect of it, is the basic gameplay is you're wandering through this house and you're discovering rooms and you're finding items and all this stuff. And then at a certain random point in the game, the second phase of the game starts, and that's called the haunt. And the haunt depends on what room you're in and what item you found, and one of the players betrays the rest of the group. And you have no idea who that is. You have no idea why. They could become a snake lady, or they could become a werewolf, or maybe a giant bird.
A demon, a possessed child that ushers in the Cthulhu, allows Cthulhu to enter the mortal realm.
I'm pretty sure there's one where a giant bird picks up the house, and you have to fight your friends for the remaining parachute so you can jump out.
Okay.
They're ridiculous.
Take all the parachutes.
I've only played played it twice. First time I started the haunt. Second time, another one. It was someone else who started the hunt, and both times, it was.
I love those kinds of games. I love
it's so fun.
I love deceiving games like Secret Hitler and that kind of stuff.
Secret Hitler is pretty fun.
I want the expansions for Betrayal at House on the Hill so badly, but my husband's like, keep track of which haunts you've actually played, and when you've hit about like 2/3 of them, then we'll get the expansions, because there's 50 different options for what can happen.
Dang.
Yeah, and the expansion has like 50 more. I'm like,
yeah, and another thing they stole from video games, I'm pretty sure, of like expansion packs. And because these games, kind of stuff, because these games can be pretty expensive when you get them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you played a lot of this. Hey, you want to buy this expansion pack? It's
and
like,
that's obviously that's not just board games. They do that with like Exploding Kittens. They did that with Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, my husband's new favorite game is called Smash Up, and it's kind of like a deck building game, but the decks are already built, and there's gazillions of expansions for it.
Gazillions.
Kind of insane.
Yeah,
but what I really want to play is what's called Betrayal Legacy, and it's essentially 14 consecutive games of Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Sounds like a lot.
It is a lot.
14 consecutive?
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to play them like back to back, but the idea is like you're not just a character, you have like a legacy, and like you continuously have your descendants coming to the same haunted house and trying to do stuff.
Okay.
Would it play I kind of like almost like a roguelike game? Like if you were to compare it to a video game style?
It sounds like it's like Jack in the Box game. That Jack in the Box game, Murder House.
Oh.
Yeah, where your descendant is the one who goes into the house next, or like some other.
Yeah.
I can
it
see
seems
that.
really complex. Yeah, and that's the majority of my time spent on YouTube watching board games.
Do we want to consider Jack in the Box games as board games?
No, they're not. They're not board games.
Board video.
Do you just mean Jackbox games?
Yeah,
Jack in the Box.
No.
Jackbox games. Yeah.
Jackbox.
It was Josh that threw me off with that.
That was my bad.
Just Jackbox.
I played
they're not board games.
Yeah, I played a lot, but I don't
love Jackbox games.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Basically, what you'll come to learn about me is I love any kind of game. I love all of them.
Me too. But no, you don't.
All of them?
I don't believe you, Hannah. I would challenge you for that.
Hunter, Hunter, you just said at the beginning of the episode you don't like board games.
I did not say that.
You get bored from board games.
Yes, that was just a statement to make a pun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Or is it a play on words? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so my turn to talk about board games.
Go ahead. What do you have? Yes.
So, first of all, when we were in college, did either of you, I have the hardest time remembering, did either of you ever really like come around to play Settlers of Catan?
I think I did a couple times.
I was around, and I think I watched people play. I never really stuck around enough to actually join a game.
Yeah,
I think I played once or twice.
I played a lot. A lot of people played a lot when I was there. So
we played mostly card games when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that. Everybody just wanted to play Catan after when like you guys were gone. Hannah, I don't think you had quite graduated, but
I was probably student teaching.
You were student teaching.
Yeah.
So I was not there.
And Josh, you were like probably in your last semester and then graduated when.
I was in and out and then out.
Yeah, like that was all anybody ever wanted to play. I always wanted to play Mal, but anyways, that's a whole other thing. That's a card game. And nobody else wanted to do that because they're. Anyways, but like Catan is a good game. It's a very popular one. I feel like it's extremely popular. Maybe one of the more popular ones right now. And that's another one that has a lot of it. In many ways, it always reminds me of Monopoly, but like, I guess almost a I don't even know. It's a variation on it, kind of, in many ways. Because you're controlling different properties, you're building like houses or settlements and stuff, and you're trading resources. And, like,
gotta be honest, I would never have connected those two.
Well, now you may.
I don't think I will.
Anyways, so that's one that I'm never really good at or great at. I've won a couple times, but not a lot. You have to be a jerk basically to win.
Just so like Monopoly. So you have to be a jerk, and someone has to.
You have to be super manipulative.
I don't.
And you have to make dirty deals with people.
Sounds like Monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but some that I am really interested in lately, I really want to play more of, and I want to justify getting expansions for, but I can't. One is it's a Marvel deck building one.
I've
Legendary.
heard of that. Yeah, Legendary. I really want to play that.
I like that a lot.
Is it a board game?
It's a deck building game. Like you use a board with it and everything. So it's Josh. I'm gonna say if you're counting, oh crap, what was it called? The Dark Plague, whatever.
Dark Moon?
Dark Moon, yeah. If you're counting that as a board game, I would definitely count Legendary as a board game.
What I'm learning from this conversation...
has a board,
so does Legendary.
What I'm learning from this conversation is Hunter really doesn't like board games, and he's trying to come up with any excuse to talk about, like, it's a card game, but it has a board, and, like, this is a video based on a board game.
It's a board game. It's a board game. But no, you have different scenarios. You have you choose a number of superheroes to get, and you shuffle them up, and then you also have a number of you choose the villains and the henchmen, and then a mastermind to get. Yeah, it's really interesting. So like you build your own kind of like heroes and villains to go against your scenarios. Their version of that is your mastermind. And you have like in the base game, you have like Doctor Doom. I don't remember if you have Thanos. I'm suddenly blanking on like every villain ever. So but they're all like different difficulties too, and there's a lot of different rules. I like it. You can spend like action points. You can spend recruit points, so you can use your heroes to do things, or you can spend it on getting more heroes and building your deck of superheroes and all that. It's interesting, but and there's so many expansions for it. Like there's a Civil War expansion. Ooh. There's a Skrull Secret Wars expansion. All sorts of things. I really want to try them out, but nobody ever wants to play it with me.
Well, we'll put it on the list of ones to potentially try if we can all get together and play it. I'm sure we have a good time playing it.
But I also got this one for Christmas called it's Funkoverse. It's a Funkoverse game. So you get like the little a couple or like 4 little Funko Pop characters, basically
mini Funkos.
Yeah. So the ones that I have, or the one that I have, is a DC Universe. I think, well, it's DC. I don't, yeah. Mm-hmm. So this one has, it's Batman themed. So you have Batman, Batgirl, Joker, and Harley Quinn. And so it's a little complicated, like a lot of these board games are, but, it's also pretty simplistic on the range of more complicated board games, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Like they give you a good set of rules too for like, here's how you should play your first game to get familiar with it. And then, more
I've played a lot of games. I feel like in the last year that I'd like never played before, because I've been getting more into games. And so I've been playing more games and getting more games and buying more games and all this stuff. And I definitely find like, no matter how complicated a game is, like after you play it the first time, like you more or less get it.
Yeah.
Right. Like even if we have really complicated games, like once you figure out what's going on, they're never like too bad.
Yeah. And I've tried to explain that to people with Legendary, but people are like, this is too complicated. People
are terrified of complicated games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like oh, that's got you've got this game has like 20 figures and I do all this setup and I can't handle it.
Well, that's why as soon as I rope people into playing Betrayal at House on the Hill with me, I'm like, awesome, let's play, and then I show them the 3 instruction books that there are, and I'm like, hey, there's 3 instruction books.
You're getting into a game when you have to watch a video before you can actually play the game.
Yeah.
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 But you
but
get into a good game.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yes.
Disclaimer.
Yes.
For Betrayal at House on the Hill, 2 of the instruction books are only for the second half of the game, and you only need like 2 pages of each one per game.
Ooh.
So there's technically only one instruction booklet that is like always pertinent.
Okay. Yeah.
Lessens the blow.
Yeah. Softens it. Yeah. I enjoy that we have, all these board games out, and you can get some that are more feels like you're playing a video game, or they're actually based off a movie, a TV show, or where you can enjoy your superheroes in your board games. So they have something for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a cooperative like zombie apocalypse board game, and I think that would be really fun to do.
Yeah, it's to me. I really want to get more into the because I really enjoy like the role playing board games. Where you're actually like kind of following some sort of story, or an objective, like we're talking about with scenarios and stuff. Those kinds of games, and the more in-depth ones. I don't really have a lot of experience with any of them, with many of them, but I really want to build that experience. Nobody ever has time for me. And I don't have time. Yes, I do.
Gotta make the time.
I have plenty of time.
But speaking of time, I believe that we are coming to an end of ours for this week's episode. But yes, get a board game, play with your friends. It's fun.
And card games too.
We'll talk about that later. What's next week's discussion regarding?
What is next week?
Next week, Star Wars?
Is it? I thought that was the week after. Let's check.
Nope.
Is it? Wait, are you saying nope to?
Nope, it's not next
week.
No, nope, it's not. Some other time.
So it is next week.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So next week, I guess we're actually going to be recording on. We're going to be recording on Tuesday because we have a guest, and he will not be able to stream on Monday, but he will be able to make time on Tuesday.
So the video is going to be a little late.
Yep. So the video, you can probably expect it to be up on Wednesday of next week. Yep. So that's going to be interesting in terms of what we're talking about. I can give a little sneak peek. We will be obviously we got some big Star Wars stuff to talk about at the end of last year after we wrapped up in like the new Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker. That wrapped up obviously our the Skywalker saga. So we're going to be discussing kind of that, our feelings about it, how to watch it, what should or should not be included.
Are you and I going to argue about Rogue One?
Maybe, probably.
No, me and Hunter are going to argue about Rogue One.
Everybody is going to argue with me about Rogue One.
Yes,
but we'll get to that then. And then like some of the extended universe stuff and some of the video games. We're just gonna talk about that and just speculate on the future of Star Wars. And we'll have a guest. His name is Matthew, and we also all went to college with him too.
Yeah. One of the crew.
We don't know anybody else.
No one
we
else
only know people that we went to college with.
Yep.
Yeah. But that'll be next week's episode, and that is our time. But we'll see you all soon. Until then, have a great week.
Yep. Have a great time.
Adios.
Play a board game.
See you, nerds.
Put your board down.